Yeah, for me, the thing that broke the force more than anything else that Disney have done was probably Ahsoka, when Sabine goes from not even being able to move a fucking cup to being able to throw a guy from a platform onto a Star Destroyer. And that took a couple of days. And that for me, yeah, that just broke the force. And she's not even force sensitive. But I know the force is already broken.
She really wanted to do it, though, Despot. So that's all she needed.
Dude, Sabine that got all the Star Wars collectibles, right? Like the Beskar armor and the Mandalorian history. Also force sensitive, also a prodigy. Didn't she invent some kind of incredible weapon as well at a super young age? When more information I got on her, I was like, she's just another Ahsoka from a Dave Filoni's little toys that have to like dominate every last scene they're in. And now they're together. Bring on Ahsoka season 2. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, it's so funny how that show was it was like a non-show. You know, it was like a thing that we made fun of when it was out, and as soon as it was over, nobody talked about it anymore. It was just gone, consigned to the ash heap of history. And I feel like it's the same with pretty much every Disney show that they bring out, or at least every Disney Star Wars show.
You know, the only one that has defied that is Andor. It's the only one that people still talk about and seems to be slowly but surely developing something of a cult following.
Yeah.
But everything else has just disappeared from the cultural landscape.
And that's the show they should be rushing back, because it's the actual show people like, and they're not.
It's going to be crazy, dude. If season 2 is good for Andor, and that's it, that's the end, and then Gilroy is not interested in doing more Star Wars or something, it's going to be such a oh, well, bye. we'll just hang out with Filoni, I guess. That'll be great.
I mean, I guess because we've asked this kind of each of our guests that have been on. So from your point of view, Snarky J, like, is there anything that can help Star Wars? Is there anything that you would like to see get done? Or is there any creative that could come on board that could actually fix this absolute mess?
Oh, man. I used to think that was George Lucas, and then I have come to the conclusion that the more I hear him defending Bob Iger and all these other morons, he's just as lost as they are. To be honest, I think there just has to be a complete overhaul. I think the only thing that's ever going to fix Star Wars is if Disney sells, and they won't, so they're just going to put the franchise into the ground. Like, obviously, they're checking boxes over hiring actual talent, and checking boxes and getting money from, DEI and ESG initiatives over actually making anything of quality. So the longer they do that, they're never going to produce anything of, worth watching,
Yeah. No, it seems to be like the Acolyte, I guess, is the ultimate expression of that. And it might be partly why people are enjoying the failure of it and enjoying a bit of Schadenfreude with it, because it's the perfect example. And everyone knew it was going to be bad, but I don't think everyone expected it to be quite so bad and to fail this hard. But to have a show where they straight up say, it's made by a feminist, lesbian, gender fluid activist, or whatever she describes herself as, and that's all going to be reflected in the storylines. It's all going to be very female centric. You're essentially giving us a laundry list of all the things that have caused so many problems within Star Wars since Disney took it over, and now it's all condensed together into one show. Of course, people were going to expect it to fail, and it has done in spectacular fashion. And I just don't know if they can ever let go of that. I don't know if they could ever say, hey, we're just going to do a Star Wars show that's just entertainment. We're not trying to check any boxes. We're not trying to comment on the state of the world today. We're not trying to score any brownie points politically. We're just going to tell a good story.
And they've just been so petty about it too, because it's like, when the Book of Boba Fett came out, I felt personally offended. Like, there was nothing in that series that did not make me feel like I was personally attacked. But at least on Disney's end, they were like, isn't this, though, like what you wanted out of Boba Fett? With The Acolyte, they literally put out a show that they knew we weren't going to like. And they were like, hey, if you don't like this, it's because you fucking suck and you should die. I'm like, I'm sorry. Now you're genuinely poking the bear. And now I'm going to enjoy trashing your show every Wednesday. Like, you had this shit coming.
When Solo lost money and they panicked and cancelled all the movies and didn't know what to do, you think they would have headed in a different direction, but it's like they were looking at two roads and one had fire and brimstone and one was all sunny and shiny. They went, we'll go down the fire and brimstone one. That seems to be the way out of here.
They just doubled down.
Worse. It's like, this one's the craziest one with the craziest person making it. And you think maybe if this happened years ago and then they learnt from it, but they just push it on. It's quite amazing to watch.
They can't let it go, I think. Because I guess they're that invested in this new vision for Star Wars. I don't know if they're...
Bit of sunk cost.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess their thought process is like, if we force it hard enough and for long enough, eventually people will just come to accept it through sheer resignation. Or, the old fans who are putting up a resistance to this will fade away and we'll have new fans who will come in. Kind of like that Doctor Who approach. Which has worked great,
we've talked about like methodology of how to fix stuff like this, even though it's a complete pipe dream, would never happen. But the whole clean house, the decanonization, the apology to fans, things that'll never ever ever happen. But another thing that would never happen that they should totally do is when you release a thing and a bunch of fans all meme on how you fucked up Fire in Space or something, one of the best responses you could possibly have is being like, whoops. Yeah, we got that wrong. I mean, hopefully, it doesn't ruin too much, but yeah, we were rushing, and I think we missed that detail. Sorry about that. That we'll do better. And try and join in on it, lean in on it. But no, it'll always be hyper defensive, and then they'll somehow be like, complaining about Fire in Space, racist.
Wait, what?
That's actually true. That's actually true. They said something to the effect of, you're using Fires in Space as a facade just behind which to hide your racism, which is your real problem with the show. I saw that argument.
I mean, yeah, for me and for Gary, we are apparently responsible for tanking The Acolyte. We stirred up so much hatred towards it that we destroyed this show.
Have Lucasfilm fired you yet?
Well, and for that, I don't apologize because they absolutely deserved it. But also, if you get to the point where people reviewing it on YouTube becomes more entertaining than the actual property itself, you've created a problem for yourself. And it's not because of people like me or Gary or Star Wars Theory or anyone else here. It's because you made a shit product that people took great delight in deconstructing. And that's on you as a creative force.
That script they've run with for the last 10 years of blaming the audience, blaming reviewers, and is just, again, you think the money men, you think someone losing money would say, you've got to stop doing that. Like, even if they hate the show, you've got to just come out and go, well, it's a different show. Maybe you'll like the next one. But the attack of the audience and reviewers, just, you think at some stage the money's going to start talking again, but I don't know.
Well, it's the equivalent as well. In terms of antagonizing your fan base, it's like a comedian berating his audience for not laughing at his shit jokes. What do you think? Do you think they're then going to start laughing at you because they're guilted into it? Of course they're not. Once you've established that adversarial relationship with your fan base, that's it. You ain't coming back from that.
Joe Coy did that at the Golden Globes, and recently Netflix released a trailer for his new special, and all of the comments were like, "Oh, that's the dickhead from the Golden Globes." And that's a really good microcosm of what Disney are doing, because when you do that, when you sort of say, yo, why aren't you laughing at my jokes, or my jokes, the funny jokes, it's the writer jokes that suck. When you sort of attack the audience like that, that's kind of becomes your legacy and that's your brand. Yeah. And people will hate you for it.
And that's review bombing. They love saying it's getting review bombed. You created this. You created all the people that are review bombing, even if it's all fake or whatever they want to say, and it's people, going on there and they haven't even watched the show. Yeah, but that's because of the show you're making. Whatever the reason is, you have created this. You haven't created something people love or like or enjoy. You've created something people want to make fun of and laugh at, So again, just blaming the audience and the reaction to their own products. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, they still have plenty of shills on Twitter that have literally made accounts on Rotten Tomatoes to give them positive reviews, but that's not a review bomb because it's positive. Yeah, get the hell out of here. It's only a problem when we do it.
That's the big difference, I think, that just is undeniable. The horde of people, however big it is, looking at 5 probably people who praise the thing, it's always the fucking wow, look at the colors. Wow, wasn't that episode fun? Wow, and it's just do you have anything? Talk about the characters.
I just want to turn my brain off and have fun.
Talk about
shut up.
Or it'll be as a queer, bisexual, black, quadriplegic lesbian or something. I feel represented by this show. Like, well, great, but like, how does that relate to the quality of the writing or the storytelling in any way? It doesn't. But it's like,
and it's also shallow. It's just one still from the show, and it's like, I was shaking, or I'll never get over this, or peak Star Wars. It's like they got about 5 different things they say.
yeah,
and it's like you're saying, there's nothing.
This is cinema right here.
There's no analysis. It's just surface level. It's always just like, oh, I love it. And then people being like, oh my God, it was actually Chimera the whole time. And it's like, tell me why that's meaningful. Tell me why it matters that he is Smilo Red. Why does it matter at all? Like, there's nothing.
The one that I've seen a lot in terms of the positive reviews is the appeal to mediocrity. So they'll write things like, this show's not that bad, or, okay, so it's not exactly The Godfather, but it's a decent show. It's kind of fun. And that's the best they can do, just appeal to mediocrity. It's not the worst thing in the world, so screw all the haters. I'm going to enjoy it. And by the way, this show is not even close to mediocre. It's fucking awful. It is shockingly bad. It's the worst thing Disney Star Wars have ever done.
Shot, but
you know, the
although compare it to like the worst thing in the prequels. You know, well, what about this in the prequels?
Well, yeah,
like, that ain't a good reference.
This show makes the Christmas special look good, and I mean that literally.
Well, yeah, it did that on Rotten Tomatoes. But I was going to say, an adjacent strategy to the whole, like, well, use mediocre. It's like, it's not even that. But they'll also try and drag down all the shit that this was built upon. It's like, you know, Empire isn't actually as good as you think. Like, why are we bothering? Like, what's the fucking
whole, like,
point?
what? Do you remember how a stormtrooper bonked his head on a fucking bulkhead in A New Hope? Like,
no, it's like George Lucas wasn't that good. He didn't even direct Empire. Like, just crazy.
And people don't even realize just how good Empire is. That movie is actually better. It's even better than most people realize. When you go into like the symbolism and the visual depth of it and the layering, it's a perfect movie.
You start to learn that with a lot of these people that love the Acolyte for the surface level stuff. They loved the OT for the same reason. They were like, I love the colors in the OT. And you're like, oh, dude, I didn't realize we love it for different reasons. Like, the colors are real nice. I agree, but like, there's more than that there.
And that is a shock because you grow up thinking that everyone watched it the same way, and we all love it. And why, like you were saying earlier, like the fight between Vader and Luke in Empire, and like why that is, you know, the greatest moment of Star Wars to a lot of people, myself included. And then you hear these people the way they talk about it, it's like, oh, you didn't watch the same film I watched. You were just having a completely different experience. So it always shocks me just how different people can watch the same film. And not in a good way, they're just that surface level way.
Well, and how they just want to drag everything into the sludge, the mire of everything is shit anyway. Just enjoy it. It's like, oh, I don't like that world.
The scene with the Padawan spinning the sticks a couple of episodes back, and people have been calling that out because she's flying around, and people are saying, well, we saw Luke train and then take on Vader. It's like, Luke was like years into it, climbing through a jungle with Yoda, teaching him, you know, he wasn't spinning a broomstick around, and then Vader kicked his ass anyway, and he wasn't even trying. So it's, these comparisons they make are just insane.